Foodbanks in Derby. A food bank is a charitable organisation that gives food to people in need.
There's over 14,000 children in the city living in poverty.
You know, with bills going up and food going up, people need the extra to survive.
Would any individual ever really want to go and ask somebody for some food?
If it wasn't for the Hope Centre, we wouldn't be eating.
Citizens Eye Derby is aware of 14 food banks in the city. We visited 2 of them and an advice centre. Firstly, we asked, how do people access a food bank?
We work a referral, so we have a voucher where they'll be going to see maybe someone at the Citizens Advice Bureau or going to see someone at a job centre or women's work or agencies like that who are addressing other issues with them, but become evident that they've got an issue around money and food. And so they will fill out a voucher, give it to the individual, and they'll come down to one of the food bank sessions and be given sort of 3 days worth of food.
We have 2 main routes that people can access our services. The first is through our Jubilee Debt Advice Clinic, which is another one of the projects the mission runs. So our worker there takes around about 20 to 25 parcels, would you say, John?
Yes.
Yeah, to her clinics each week that she gives out to her clients. And the other route we have is via direct referrals from other city agencies, other charities, council departments. A lot of people in the city know who we are and what we can do. And they will ring us up and say they've got a particular client who's in financial hardship for whatever reason. It's usually that the benefits haven't come through or the benefits have been stopped.
They're assessed first. We can give them up to 3 food vouchers. Yes. We fill in the form for the client. The client takes it to the Hope Centre and they get a food parcel for 3 days.
What do you provide?
We try and vary it a little bit depending on the person who it is who's receiving it. If we know who the person is and we know they've maybe got a few more children or there's sort of 4 or 5 children or 2 adults, then we try and put a little bit more in. But
it's a variety of things that we put in there. It's all tinned, dried and packaged, so it's nothing that needs to be kept in a fridge or a freezer, nothing that needs to be kept at a certain temperature. Everything is in date. We don't give out any dented tins or anything like that.
So we don't do fresh food because we can't store it, with the exception of bread, which we can do if we get it through one of our suppliers, and we get eggs delivered to us free by Happy Hens.
It isn't just beans and soup, it's cereal and milk, tea, coffee, fruit, fish, meat, potatoes, vegetables, curry, rice, all sorts of things, enough to last somebody for 3 days.
And then washing powder, if they need it, a couple of toothbrushes and toothpaste, washing up liquid, again, we have that as well.
Where does the food come from?
We get donations in from members of the public, from churches, particularly from schools at harvest time. That gives us about 90% of our food in.
Another scheme that we're trying to start is having a box at work. So people can put it in their canteen, their staff room, wherever, and maybe get their work colleagues to bring in a couple of tins each week. If we could have 50 of those around the city, that would be great. We have around 20 or so already, and that is working well.
How many people use the food banks?
Sadly, the demand is increasing, and we'll probably do around 20 to 25 food parcels per week now. I would, in the time I've been involved, 3 years, I would say it's probably gone up by about 25–30%.
That's on top of the ones we give out through the Jubilee clinics.
The numbers have gone up since we started. It averages around 20 a week. This is today. It's been a busy day.
It went from, shall we say, 1 or 2 a week. It then went up to about 10 a week. We're now giving out, I would say on average, somewhere between 40 and 50 a month now.
Who uses a food bank?
Sometimes they look like kids, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Sometimes they've left home or they've been kicked out of home and they're sofa surfing. Sometimes it's the other end, it's older people, young mums with families, couples.
It used to be mainly single men on JSA, homeless, things like that. But now, I must admit, we are getting more families in.
What are the reasons people need help?
There's a real range of different situations. Some, they've been made redundant, they're unemployed, and the benefit system hasn't kicked in, and they have no savings, and they just need something to help while those things are put into place. Sometimes it's because the breadwinner of the family, usually the man has left, walked out, and the mum and children are left in a mess. We've had that a few times. Sometimes it's teenagers who are leaving care, and they've never had to budget before, and they're having to learn how to do that, and they've got themselves into a mess. Sometimes it's a result of loan sharks, and we had a couple who ended up leaving their house and living in a car.
We find that people come primarily, as I've said, because their benefits have been stopped, or there's been a delay on their benefits coming through, or something of that nature, which means they have no access to any immediate money. And that can usually take 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe even longer sometimes, for that claim to be resolved and money to start coming through.
We seem to have a very big backlog now of benefit problems being addressed by benefits agencies. There is a longer wait for benefits to be put back in place again when somebody's either been, they've had their benefits stopped, they have to appeal, and while that appeal's being accepted, of course you've then got the delay of no benefits in place. You've also got the problem of now sanctions are on the rise, and sanctions have now been lengthened.
How many times can people receive food?
We will help people for a few weeks usually, won't we, John? Just to say, we'll help you a few weeks until your money comes through. Then, of course, then you're okay again. So we try not to help people on an extended basis, and that's not because we don't care. We, not for their situation, but if they really have no money, no access to money for more than a few weeks, there's something a bit more serious going on in the background, and the people usually then need to see specialist help, and we don't want people to become dependent on our services, because that's not allowing them to make their own life better.
They can come back again. It's an emergency bag for emergencies. It's not a long-term feeding programme. So we've had people come 10 or a dozen times, but we try to discourage people from relying on it.
How do you help people further?
We try to maximise their income as much as we can by benefit checks, finding out if there's other benefits they can get, if they're on the right benefits. If they've still got an ongoing problem, we then assess them again in case either they're having problems accessing their benefits or something else has happened, and we need to find out if there is another issue there.
And how do people feel about receiving the food?
You get a mixed reaction. The reaction is sometimes, oh yes please, that will really help. You do of course get the ones that refuse and say no, because there's still that stigma there.
Sure. Anna, one of the people we met at the Hope Centre Food Bank, talked about the issues that prompted her to use this service.
I'm originally from Ireland, but been over here most of my life. Been in Derby 15 years.
You're here at the food bank today. Have you been given a bag of food?
Yes. It's probably about 4th, 5th time that I have. First time ever on benefit, due to domestic violence. We have had not enough food, even in the house, my marital home. No income from my ex-husband, nothing at all. We just had to get out there, it wasn't safe.
Right. And you've now left?
We've left not even 3 weeks now.
And who's we?
And myself and my son, and he's 9. He's just about now settling down after all of this. It's been a bad year.
Sure. And your reliance on the food bank has been caused because of having to leave?
Yes, and little things like bus fares, to try and cope on living on £120 for 2 weeks with a child. It's absolutely, it's so difficult. I have to forfeit something in order just to fill up a larder, which we only have at the moment. We've got no fridge or anything like that. It's unfurnished. Okay. I did buy a bed last weekend on my benefit, and unfortunately was asked, how did that money go? So that's what we've got. We've got a bed.
Right, so you either have a bed or you have food.
Exactly.
What else do you get from coming to the Hope Centre?
Well, apart from the food, it's nice. I mean, they're all very, very friendly, you know. Nobody looks down. It is, you feel like degraded, but when you have to do it, you do. Especially with a child.
Sure.
I wouldn't think about it on my own.
Do you have enough food?
If you look on our shelves now, because it's just gone past Harvest Festival, the shelves are pretty full. But come August next year, we will have some shortages and items that we just won't be able to give.
We've always been able to give food out to anybody who's come. It has been a struggle at times, particularly during the late summer, July and August. The shelves were particularly empty, and we had to go out and buy food in.
Constantly trying to look at different ways of keeping these shelves stocked. Finding people who are in need is very easy, but keeping the shelves stocked is pretty tricky.
We met Susan at the Hope Centre Food Bank. She did not wish to be filmed, but talked to us about her situation.
My name is Susan. I'm on sick at the moment because I'm not fit to work at the moment. So because I've got lung disease, I struggle a little bit in the week, you know, food-wise, and struggling with my health and things. So I need the extra to help me out. Sometimes I have to sit in the dark and, you know, not able to manage. So this is why I come here. They do fantastic work. Those who really need it badly. It's me at the moment, unfortunately.
I think we've got to recognise any form of food poverty is unacceptable. In terms of us as a city, there's roughly 250,000 people. If you just said 100,000 of them, you know, were able to give, you know, 1 tin of food a month, not a week, not a day, a month, we would alleviate food poverty in this city. There's enough food in this world to go around.